Hi all and welcome to the Truth, Honour and Integrity show. Tonight it is May the 4th be with you. Hi all and welcome to another week of the Truth, Honour and Integrity show. My name's Thomas Williams. Well, it's been a rather fun and interesting week, and some of it not so much fun, and the usual round of bullshittery and fun and games has kind of ramped up this week, not only on the global stage but also in this country and also on the alternative media. It's a struggle to keep up with everything, but Intel is back this week, and there's a fair bit of it, and some of it is very interesting to say the least. Right, but first we're going to mention a few things. I've been getting a lot of emails over many months, and I view them all. I don't always answer them because I have too much to do. Some of them are questions for the show, which if I get time I transfer to the page ready for the show. But one of the things that kept coming up is how much people like the show. And there's way more listeners to the show than there is members on the Facebook page each week, which is unusual. It's different. And a lot of people were saying they don't do Facebook, and I understand that. I would never have had Facebook only for Drake and Freedom Reigns, or was it Universal Voice or something else. all the names of that ends up with Cosmic Voice, and still is. But that was the only reason I went on Facebook. I don't like it, and there's a lot of other people who don't like it either, and just completely refuse to have their privacy being invaded, the spying, the adverts, etc., etc. So we had a discussion with Michael Jaquin, who did the website for the People's Club, and decided we would create something that is parallel without all the bullshittery that Facebook entails. Now, it's not going to replace the Facebook page. People probably will use both, but eventually I would like us to see, if it becomes popular, all the members to leave Facebook and let them carry on with their invasion of privacy and all kinds of other fun and games that they're trying to implement on us. Of course, we don't have to play their game or participate. So we've created a social media alternative called MeWe, MEWE.com, and it's truth-honour-integrity. If you're a member of the Facebook page and you want to go across to WeMe, send me your email in a private message and I will add you, because I know there's some people who have struggled this week trying to get on the page or get access to it, but that's the easiest way. So for the ones who don't like Facebook, who have been asking me to do a blog or have a website or something where they can keep up to date with things, there's your alternative, WeMe.com /join/truth-honour-integrity, and there's 153 or 154 members in there already, and it's only been going a couple of days, so that's good. But as it stands, it's not a full-on replacement for the Facebook page, but if people are willing to stick two fingers up to the cabal, and Facebook is cabal, then maybe at a later date we will consider a full-on change. But at the moment it's running side by side, so it helps more people become involved that would like to be involved. Links for the show, as per usual, is the Spreaker.com. user 8955881, or the YouTube channel Tommy Williams, the guy with the yellow submarine picture. My sister took that one. And the email for the show is still the same: truth.honour.and.integrity@gmail.com if you want to pass comment or ask some questions for the following show. And of course we have the People's Club website called thepeoplesclub.org if people want to donate to the People's Club. We may have a bit more news on what's happening with that fairly soon. As it stands, the funds are there. They just can't be used for various reasons because of the cabal fun and games that is escalating beyond all reason at the moment. Right, we're going to go into some news. There's a few op-ed pieces following the news about the alternative, various parts of the alternative media, and then we'll go into some intel, likely in the second hour. We'll see how time develops, of which it's going rather faster, isn't it? Perhaps it's just someone asked me this recently. Everything seems to be going faster, time is speeding up. Well, the Mayans were right with the calendar, that was proven. And so you will have to believe that they were also right when they were talking about back tunes. Now I don't remember I know there was 13 layers of back tunes, and the bottom layer, I'll just use a figure by example, was 1.5 million years. Now everything that took place in the 1.5 million years also took place in the second back tune, except that was 1 million years long. Everything that took place in the first and subsequent second then went into the third back tune, which may have only been 500,000 years. So as it went higher up, and I think we're now in the 13th back tune, of which is only a couple of years if memory serves me correctly, everything that took place on the bottom layer of 1.5 million years is happening in 10, 15, 20 years. So all the events are repeating, but in a shortened amount of time. So it then would appear from our perception that time is speeding up because everything is happening so fast, when in reality all it's done is condensed. Compression. Where have you heard that before on the internet? The compression breakthrough. Right, in a week where the votes on a bipartisan 1.1 trillion budget deal in America, which was to avoid a government shutdown, Mr. Trump once again upended conventional political wisdom. On Tuesday morning, the president tweeted, "The reason for the plan negotiated between the Republicans and the Democrats is that we need 60 votes in the Senate, which are not there." And he went on to say, "We either elect more Republican senators in 2018 or change the rules now to 51%. Our country needs a good shutdown in September to fix this mess." Well, he also went on to blame the Democrats if the government was left unfunded. Well, it's both. I'm not blaming one or supporting one over the other. I think everyone knows my opinion now. There is no parties, it's just two faces, one mask, with strings you can't see, unlike the old Thunderbirds episodes on Spitting Image, etc. Anyway, so Trump thinks the country needs to shut down to fix the mess. That would create an almighty chaos in this country. I don't think, given how many are on benefits, and or pensions, social security. It's not a benefit. I know they like to think it is a benefit, but actually it's not something you've paid for. If a government shut down, all those checks would be cancelled. And I'm not too sure we're responsible enough in this country to overcome that. I think it will lead to riots. I think it will lead to chaos. It will lead to looting, businesses being set on fire, and people shooting each other. As very quickly people run out of money and subsequently run out of food. But basically what Mr. Trump is saying is the current government, or those masquerading as government, is unable to fix the mess whilst it's running. That to me is a major indictment of the people we've allegedly selected. They're there to fix things, or supposed to be. We all know by now that they don't fix anything unless it suits their paymasters, suits the globalist agenda, suits the lobbying people. So Trump has just really called it as it is. We can't fix it. I would suggest that that was a private shout out to certain individuals. I would look at it that way. Montenegro is a country that very rarely gets mentioned, except of course America and its allies bombed that into oblivion back in the 80s. Divide and conquer. Their parliament, I've no doubt is a puppet, has formally agreed for the country to join NATO. When other countries are scrambling to get out, the smaller countries very stupidly are trying to join. The military bloc that pounded the tiny Balkan country with bombs less than 20 years ago during the Kosovo War, yes, that was NATO. And these clowns are wanting to join it. Anyway, the decision has sparked protest amongst the population and also opposition figures. On Friday, the Montenegro MPs voted 46-0 to become the 29th member of NATO. Opposition lawmakers boycotted the parliamentary session while hundreds of protesters gathered outside the parliamentary building before the vote to express their discontent with the idea of Montenegro joining the NATO alliance. Protesters chanted treason and thieves and held a banner that read, "NATO murderers, your hands are bloody." They also burned the NATO flag before peacefully dispersing. Good way to go. Meanwhile, the opposition leaders have announced that they would not recognise the results of the parliamentary vote and will call a referendum on the issue should they come to power in the future and reverse it. Perhaps they need to listen to the intel portion on how to do things. We have a blueprint. You don't have to go along with that. So it's been reported, I don't know whether it's been widely reported in the media, but the US Inc. military has been conducting nuclear bomber tests over North Korea this week. Unbelievable. Tillerson, Rex Tillerson that is, will be meeting with South Korea and Japan for talks as the war rhetoric increases to cover the asses of those back on the US soil and also facilitate a Rothschild bank into another country. The annoying thing is this country is bankrupt and yet there are no expenses spared for military exercises, wars, foreign invasions, offshore bases and installations, weaponry and logistics. we the people are paying for all this folly, threatening North Korea. If North Korea have ever fired weapons at America, now why are we wasting millions on another jaunt just to play the game for the puppet masters? And it's high time the people recognised where elements of our military are operating and who they're operating under. Stephen Hawking has warned that humans face being superseded by computers if the race to develop artificial intelligence continues apace. Stephen Hawking. Of course, he's been superseded by a computer. The first bio-robot in the public eye. Anyway, Mr. Hawking went on and said, I believe that the rise of powerful AI will either be the best thing or the worst thing to happen to humanity. I have to say now that we do not yet know which way it will go, but we should do all we can to ensure that its future development benefits us and our environment. I see the development of AI as a trend with its own problems that we know must be dealt with now and in the future. The progress in AI research and development is swift, and perhaps we should all stop for a moment and focus our research not only on making AI more capable, but on maximising its societal benefit. My own opinion on that is when the people, and I mean all the people, are told the truth of who we are, what we are, where we came from. The idea with that knowledge and everyone on board with that knowledge that we need an AI should be a mute point. The idea that really that we need any machines. People talking about healing machines. Again, that's convenience. Too often we are going down the path of convenience. Look at the Facebook page. There's now an alternative. Will everyone leave Facebook? No, because some find it more convenient to not change, and that's like a micro version of the macro. Let's have all kinds of AI, because it makes our life easier, more convenient, without realising the damages it's causing. Let's have banking on our mobile phones without realising the damage it's causing and the vulnerability of your account being stolen. Each and every one of you listen to this show, go through certain aspects of your life, or all aspects. Think about where you could do small changes that may not be convenient, but would actually be better long term. I hardly ever use my phone other than for phone and text and the occasional soccer score if I'm not at home. But there was download this local news weather app until I actually read what they were offering. So I get the weather app and they get access to all my data, all of it, pictures, emails, texts, phone calls, full access. You're granting them just to have the weather app. What's that got to do with anything? I deleted it. But that's where convenience comes in. Oh yeah, that'll be great, I'll have this app and that app, and you don't realise how much of your privacy you're giving away. It'll be easier, saves looking at this. No, it's not easier. Well, it is. It's damaging. And then people complain, oh, they're spying on us and this and that, because we allowed it, because it was easier and more convenient to do it that way rather than putting a little bit of effort and looking into something different. Something all of us, that includes myself, because I do look at aspects of my life. How can I change this and how can I move that? Do I really need this? No. I make the change. People say, what can I do? I don't have any power. You can leave Facebook. That's sticking two fingers up to the New World Order and the cabal. If everyone did it, all the ad revenue would crash. If everyone decided, I'm not watching the news on mainstream media, their advertisement revenue would crash, and so would the company. We're all tired of listening to the same bullshit lies and cabal propaganda news. But we have a choice. Don't watch. Same as the election. We have a choice. Don't vote. See how small things like that eventually build up. And then they realise we're not with them anymore. They're putting out this and they're putting out that, and we're not buying it, we're not watching it, we're not playing it. Where do you think their control system will stand then? It won't. People got together and created in each community a home school. Remove people out of the dumbing down, vaccine injecting education system. Again, it requires a little bit of effort, and it perhaps is not convenient. But how far do you want to go? Do you really want to end and stop playing their game, or don't you? Something to consider anyway. President Trump once accused the father of campaign rival Ted Cruz of having a hand in the assassination of former President John F. Kennedy. Now, ironically, in just weeks it could fall on Trump to decide whether or not to release 3,600 top secret government files about the 1963 assassination. Oops. A 1992 law set a deadline of October the 26th, 2017 for the then president to decide whether or not to unseal the files. That means the decision will now be Trump's to make. A White House official confirmed that Trump administration is familiar with the requirements and that they are working to enable a smooth process in anticipation of the October deadline. Didn't say whether he was going to open them or not. Donald Trump again. This is not swamp cleaning, Mr. Trump. On Monday, he said he will explore the possibility of higher gasoline and diesel fuel taxes. How's that going to help business, Mr. Trump? Or how's that going to help the economy and the American people? So that's another flip-flop he's done. He suggested an increase could pay for his ambitious infrastructure plan, i.e. probably the wall. Do people really want a wall that much that the gas is going to go up 25 cents? I would think not. Trump said it's something he would certainly consider, speaking to the Bloomberg News, In other words, he's told the clowns in the oil people he's heavily connected into and also invested in, which is why he's signed off on all kinds of pipelines and drilling, which he said he wouldn't. But let's increase it so they can the oil people cannot lose as much, can only make 6 billion this year instead of only 4 billion last year. Really. The President indicated that the additional money would be directed towards highway construction and repair. That's been a problem area because fuel taxes has been unchanged since 1993 and created financial challenges for preserving the Highway Trust Fund, which no doubt the Bushes et al. Have raided and emptied out a long time ago, which is why the roads are all like shit tips. There you go. The federal government currently finances its trust fund with an 18.4 cents per gallon tax on gasoline and 24.4 cents per gallon tax on diesel, neither of which are adjusted for inflation, so the revenues raised has effectively fallen over time. I don't know whether this applies around the rest of the country, but the county I live in levied a 1 cent tax to improve all the roads in the area around Disney et al. Be interested to find out how many other counties did that, where we've already been paying that 1 cent. It used to be 6% tax here, and it's now 7% for this county, and that was supposed to last 10 years. It must be 16, 17, 18 years now. All those pennies add up. So in essence, the people are already paying extra for gas, just for the roads, just in a different way. They're very clever at doing that, hiding real reasons. The car manufacturing industry, big trouble, and manufacturers are used to shutting auto plants for a week or two in July for maintenance and to keep inventories in check. As sales boomed in recent years, most factories cranked out cars without a break, but this summer widespread closures may be back and for weeks longer than before. The reason being is 4 straight months of declining sales and little expectation the trends will reverse anytime soon. No, it won't. And this is probably not what Mr. Trump wants to hear, but given he admonished the Ford Motor Company, General Motors and Toyota Motor Company for building factories in Mexico and demanded more US jobs be created, taking credit for some new investment in the US that had been long in the planning. The problem is people in general are being more personally responsible for debt and obtaining credit lines. The credit card debt has gone down over $1 trillion in the last 2 years of American people. That's not what they want. They want us to increase it. We all paid the credit card debt off. Those banks that we all love to hate would all collapse overnight. Now, given we have so many in poverty in America, classed as a first world country, but we have over 20% of children living in poverty. Other countries have 100% of children living in poverty, and generally poverty is somewhere between 45 and 60% of the whole planet. And that's what makes this particular story more galling. The world may soon see its first trillionaire. 1 followed by 12 zeros. In Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates, as long as Amazon's Jeff Bezos doesn't get there first, there seems to be quite a race going on between the two of them. Currently worth 87 billion. Gates is the richest person in the world. His net worth only continues to rise despite his alleged efforts to donate the majority to charitable causes via his foundation. That's a laugh. And the giving pledge, yeah, we know what you're giving, Mr. Gates. Death via vaccines. That's not our idea of donations, clown. However, Mr. Bezos is hot on his heels. The mogul's wealth topped 80 billion for the first time on Thursday, putting him temporarily within 5 billion of overthrowing Gates as the world's richest person. This next portion should be telling. Again, it's something we do for convenience that can be changed by adding a little bit more effort. A lot of people are using Amazon for shopping. Convenience. But at what cost? Putting a lot of people out of work. Mr. Bezos' wealth has grown in the last 5 years 65.2 billion. That's more than GDPs of countries. Currently he switches from between second and third richest in the world, trading places with the likes of Mancio Ortega and legendary investor and the snake himself, Mr. Warren Buffett. 62.5 billion profit in 5 years, because we like convenience. I mentioned on some update on the WeMe this week as a backup to last week's show. The UK election has been called because there's 30 or so MPs, politicians, who are about to be ousted. They're all part of the Leaders Party. And given there's no election until 2020 under normal conditions, that would mean the government would lose its majority. The 30 or so politicians have been done for fraud. So they've called an election. So those 30 will be replaced with a new 30. And so the government will stay in control for another 5 years. So that's what's going on in the UK. In France, everyone's kind of jumping through hoops because Marine Le Pen appears to be fighting a cabal. A bit like Trump, but it's all part of the illusion. Ms. Le Pen decided to leave the party that got her into a position to fight for the election and go independent last week. The election is less than a month away. Who does that help? The opposition. Macron, isn't it? That person's name is out and out cabal. If you have any doubts on that, young Hitler herself, Angela Merkel, says Macron would be a strong leader for France. Any endorsement by her tells you who the problem is. And it would appear to me that Marine Le Pen has done a Trump. She wasn't there to win. She was there to split the vote to get who they wanted in, which is Mr. Macron. I mean, who leaves the party just before, a month before the election, unless there's some skullduggery going on? NSA. I hope they follow through on this. Anyway, the NSA has said it will halt the warrantless collection of emails and texts sent to recipients overseas that mention a foreign surveillance target. Hints of the program were first revealed by Edward Snowden in 2013, and the NSA warrantless surveillance program's end is tied to a Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, FISC, and demand that the agency halt the about the target collection before the court would reauthorize a broader surveillance operation, the New York Times reported last Friday. The NSA has since confirmed the program's demise, adding it will delete the vast majority of messages collected under the program. The program at issue scoops up all Americans' emails and texts sent not only to foreign surveillance targets, but also such communications that include information linked to those targets, such as email addresses. Unbelievable. Mr. Ryan, House Speaker. This particular thing, I've already touched on it above, so I won't go too far on it again. But this particular thing, we, the people here in America, have to really address this type of rhetoric and call it out. Paul Ryan praised the measure for the bipartisan vote for the budget, and said, quote, "The biggest gain for Conservatives came as Democrats dropped long-standing demands to match Pentagon increases with equal hikes for non-defense programs." And the quote that really annoyed me: "No longer will the needs of our military be held hostage by the demands for more domestic spending," Mr. Ryan said. In my mind, that is what's most important here. I'll repeat that again. No longer will the needs of our military be held hostage by the demands for more domestic spending. So what Mr. Ryan's telling you, you are really have to start calling it out for what it is, because this is why the military is the sole reason why there's any debt in this country. Now, most of the debt doesn't belong to us anyway, it's their debt, but it's created by the feds because of our over bloated budget wasted on military exercises. One of the things I recently found out, cut out, so I'll repeat what Mr. Ryan said again, because apparently it cut out. House Speaker Paul Ryan said, "No longer will the needs of our military be held hostage by the demands for more domestic spending." In my mind, that is what's most important here. So Mr. Ryan is telling the American people, you're not important, and the most important thing in this country is the American military. That's basically what he's saying. Now, what is not more commonly known. I knew it was high, I didn't realise it was this high. Well, a lot of our money, as most people know, is going into black budgets. For all kinds of nefarious reasons. But what people didn't know is to build certain equipment, build certain materials, build all kinds of things with our labour and using our money to trade 70% of it off-world. Yes, you heard that right. 70% of trade is with off-world. Of course, they get kickbacks, all kinds of tech, as payment indeed, none of which the public see. Who's the mugs here? As Mr. Ryan said, we're not important for domestic spending. Ignore them. We have to give more money to the military. War, 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 and more war. So then they can trade with their war friends from some far-flung galaxy, collect technology as a payback for the people's labour and money, and not share it with the people. That to me is an out and out outrage. 70% of all trade goes off-world. I wonder how much of that trade is direct payment of humans. I know some people don't like that idea, but there is human beings being traded to off-world groups. Swiss Indo were involved in that, amongst others. SSP, capital S, small p, are involved in that. Some people wonder why we're criticising certain individuals promoting that bullshit. There's your answer. I'm not going to sit here and hide behind the facts. I've always said I will call it as it is. No matter how uncomfortable that makes some people feel, I do handle things in a good way. I do balance it so it's not all harsh. I try my best to think of all sides. some things you just can't hold back. You just have to spit it out as it comes. And I know some people don't like it. I've seen some of the comments on the page today. Of course, it was wasn't my post, but I support everything that was written in it. Now, just before, how are we for time? I'm going to get this one thing in first, and then I'm going to go into some op-ed pieces I've prepared, some comments, some observations about what's going on, so we can get some more clarity. And then the rest of the hour will be covering intel, and in the final hour will be questions. But Drake said something last week that people have been asking me questions on, and he reckons we could be facing a civil war within 3 to 6 weeks. Is that possible? Yeah, it's a possibility. Why? Because the public's going to find stuff out even more than we already have. You can't continue to kick the can down the road because it's convenient. They've blagged away for another week with the budget. Mr. Trump's deluding himself as if he thinks it's going till September. With the current budget, it won't. Is it possible we face a government shutdown? Yes, an absolute possibility. Is it possible the cabal will cause more chaos? Absolutely. They're ramping up because they're in panic mode. Some of the reasons as to why they're in panic mode will be discussed in the second hour. Can we survive and thrive? Absolutely. We've come a long way. People sometimes forget that. Yes, I know some people think it's going on far too long, but those people are naive in how deep this goes. Like mentioned 5 minutes ago, 70% of trade going to off-world. All our labour, all our tax money. So the military and the elites can get toys for them, because you don't share with us. There are many things in the works to improve things. Many, many things. There are many aspects to it. But I cannot deny we are balanced on the edge of a two-way battle of light and dark. It is what it is. And it's up to each and every one of us, in however small way, to change that reality to what we want it to be, which is a better and fairer world with adequate basic necessities for all. Free of programming and mind control and all kinds of other atrocities. You're not going to wipe pedophilia out. It is what it is. But it should no longer be hidden underground because certain alleged famous people are doing it. Fame is an illusion. They are an illusion created by a false reality by we the people. It's time to uncreate that reality and create our own people. people in our own image, not in theirs, in ours. This is going out to Randy Morgans. Hi all and welcome back to the second hour. Right, the intel will follow. I need to cover a certain few things that have kind of backed up over the last few weeks, and people are wanting certain clarity on certain things, and we're going to call it as it is, as we always do. Some people will like it, some people won't, but like everything else, the time always tells, and time has told many tales in Th&I where people have thought, I think he's called that one wrong, but it's been borne out further down the line. Now, I was going to cover it in the last show, but we kind of got sidetracked. But we're going to start the op-ed pieces this week with Mr. Keenan. Now, Mr. Keenan, in his last video, he made the statement, there are no collateral accounts. Now, Neil Keenan, who has taken many thousands of dollars off people to open the said collateral accounts that he was allegedly responsible for, being selected by the Chinese elders as the M1 to oversee the collateral accounts, and now he just blithely dismisses it as they don't exist, with no recourse. Mr. Keenan needs to be more specific in what he's saying, in my opinion. Is he now saying he's no longer the M1, and if so, why? Why is he not accessing the collateral accounts no more? And if so, why? But the reality is, Neil Keenan was one of 74 claiming they were the M1 of the world collateral accounts. 74 M1s all making the same claim. You've all heard the names Sino, Sino, and all kinds of other names that all look the same. All cabal agents. It's the cabal who have been in control of the accounts for a long time. Originally it was the Draco who held the trust account. Now, Mr. Keenan's timing was rather interesting, that he turns around and says there is no collateral accounts. Well, given the Chinese elders told the Pentagon and others they have no heritage accounts and or assets, and so subsequently there will be no RV, as was announced in this show 3 weeks ago now. So perhaps now you know where Mr. Keenan's getting his information from. We made that quite clear near 12 months ago. So the reason he's stating now that there is no collateral accounts is those accounts are no longer available to the Asian faction, aka Rothschilds, who Mr. Keenan is or was working for. Rest assured, the accounts are fine. They exist, and they are safe from rogue groups and elements and factions. Those same groups still owe the trust many quadrillions, and as I understand it, those debts will be enforced one of the bills comes due tomorrow. Oops. Federal Reserve. Memory serves me correctly. Mr. Keenan also needs to pay back all of the money donated to him under false pretenses in his alleged quest for the collateral accounts, including the money, Drake's money, $30,000 to $40,000, which was spent on prostitutes. Yes, we have the proof. Volumes of tequila. Yes, we have the proof. $10,000 per month on fancy hotels and restaurants designated only for the elites, given the prices. A huge high life at the people's expense. And Mr. Keenan should endeavour to pay those people back. Give Drake his money back, Keenan. Now, I mentioned earlier Randy Morgan's. I'm going to come out in support of Randy. Both he and I have spent quite some time over the last few years exposing the depths of deceit, lies, depravity, greed and ego amongst some of the alternative community. Rest assured, it's not something we like to do. Neither of us. Both of us would sooner be educating people, teaching people new things. But like I keep saying, it is what it is. Deceivers peddling bullshit fairy tales to make money off an all too gullible public. I've stated myself, I would love every single word of Corey Good's story to be all correct. I would love it, personally. It would be absolutely fantastic for all of us that there was some ET group allegedly helping us. The reality is far different. I tried hard, I searched, and I hoped at least some to prove some of what Corey was saying was correct. Every avenue I went down, I was told no, none of it is. It's all made up. Eventually I had to give up and accept. The whole lot was bullshit. All of it. Of course, Corey's been in the programmes, and we have to have some elements of sympathy for him, given some of the torturous methods those people endure. And in essence, Corey Good is a victim in all of this, just as much as the people who have their good hard-earned money robbed by Guyam TV to listen to fairy tales. Corey's being played for a fool by Mr. Wilcock, Guyam TV and the other handlers, all four of them. So I'm going to make an appeal on this show to Corey Good. Because it would be the absolute best thing ever to happen in the alternative media. Mr. Good, my message to you is a repeat of what you occasionally ask for in your shows: unity amongst the community. So I'm going to say to you, if we can provide you a safe platform for you and your family to come forward to either Randy Morgan's and I, or both of us, and do a one-off show detailing who set you up with this bullshit story and who did the funding. We already have all the details of your said collusion, all of them. So there's no doubt now of who's doing what, when, where or why. Corey, it's time for you to do something for real in the community and join us in exposing the filth in our midst. Time for you to gain some real credibility and do the right thing and step down and step forward with the rest of us trying to get out the truth. You've been played, lad. Yes, your ego might have been stroked, and there's many fallen victims to that. But if you really want to help the people, the offer from myself, Th&I, and Randy Morgan's and Off Planet Radio will always be open 24/7 for you to come forward and contact us, and let's get the show on. Time is short, Corey. You know that. It's also time for the James Gillilands, Dave Smiths, Ron Van Dykes, Gary Larrabee with the One Who Knows, Kent Dunn and the other RV gurus to shut up for good. There will be no RV of dings, dongs, zims or rainbow currency beach bullshittery. None. You've been told that. The public, like with Corey Good and Wilcock, are being distracted by total bullshit. Whilst you're distracting, the cabal's playing games with we the people. Now, most of these people have been fooled again. A bit like Corey. They think they're talking to the right people. I'm in the know. I'm talking to the top Chinese elder, in inverted commas. You're right. Or I'm talking to certain dragon groups. All dragon groups' heads are reptilian. All of them. Valid ones anyway. But don't feel bad for being wrong. This is a mistake we all make, myself included. We've all done it. We've all been wrong many, many times and will do in the future, but it's how you react to it. Do we continue to perpetuate the lies so we don't look like fools? Well, if you do, you're just making a bigger fool of yourself, given you now already know certain things are not taking place, or certain things are not as they are perceived. Time for those people to do the right thing and own up. That's all it takes. I made a mistake. Big deal. Don't cut yourself up for making mistakes. It's always an opportunity for learning. The person that never made a mistake never did anything in their life. And it's time for the Gillilands and Smiths and Larrabees and Kent Duns and the RV people to shut up and take steps to correct what's been going on and move on to a better path. Randy also mentioned about Cobra, and he now also supports something I had said in private to the close circle as far back as last November. Apart from one blog since then, none of Cobra's blogs look like they're his own. They're clearly different. It feels different. It has a different vibe to it. For those of you who are more sensitive, it looks different. The narrative contained within. On his latest blog, which went on for quite some time with all kinds of links, is reminiscent of the decline of Benjamin Fulford's blog, where he was citing known bullshit sites and passing it off as real and valid information. I mean, your Newswire. Come on, Cobra. You should know by now, as we all do. It's a disinfo site. Now, Cobra, I've spoken to the man, non-modulated 3 times, and I quite like the guy. I do think he's naive on some certain aspects, but that's just my opinion. Doesn't mean to say everyone has to agree with it. He probably doesn't agree with a lot of what I say. He might do, might not do. But we don't go slandering each other. But I have a concern, as Cobra, respectfully as he always did, often steered away from Corey Good issues, citing a number of times Corey's story has no backup, but he now feels that Corey carries validity. That's not the same Cobra. And my question is, has he been replaced? Anavon Wrights reported this week that the USA Inc. and also Puerto Rico's debts have been paid off on Tuesday. Sadly, this is not correct. I don't know where her information came from, but it's not correct. Because Puerto Rico declared bankruptcy yesterday. So clearly they haven't had the debts paid off. Clearly what will happen to Puerto Rico now is the same clowns, Clintons, Bushes, et al., that decimated, raped, ravaged and pillaged Haiti will do the same to Puerto Rico. You can sell us some of your assets, like all the seafront property, to pay your debts back, which they don't owe no more than we did. The reality is the USA, America, not USA, has little or no debt. The majority of the debt belongs to the Federal Reserve, which I'll remind people is nothing to do with America. It never was and never will be. Now what Anna may have been mistaken on is what was more likely is another repeat of the Wells Fargo bullshittery, where the Wells Fargo tried to pay off the debts and take over the Fed and USA Inc. That's a more likely scenario. It got blocked once. It will continue to be blocked. We don't want or need their type of government services. We want a government, an American government, not USA, for the people and by the people, with no parties, divide and conquer, two faces, one mask, the illusion of choice. No, we just want good people, honest people, with a modicum of intelligence, unlike some of them in there now, who are prepared to do a job for and on behalf of the people of America, who they seem to have forgotten employs them. Where are we? That ends the op-ed. We're going to go into some intel now. And you think it's funny how old names crop up. Well, everyone and the mother up until Tuesday was talking a pile of crap again. At the RV had happened, including the famous people in the five-sided with their badges. And then the following day, Tuesday, they woke up again to nothing. That must be about the 1005th time it's failed. But no worries to the people who still pursue the RV. It will happen again by 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, if not guaranteed by Monday, according to them. One day people will realise it's not going to happen. Federal Reserve. I hope there's some Congress people listening. There's what you don't know this week that we're going to announce on this show is the Federal Reserve have been scrambling this week to pay the first 500 billion of the 1.5 trillion debt that they owe, and they're doing their best to not let Congress know. Oops. Federal Reserve is broke and their bill's due tomorrow. Time to enforce it. Let's do what they've done to countries. Strip assets to pay back the debt owed to the people and then shut them down. They don't belong here. They never did. But the irony that they didn't want Congress to know, when it was the treasonous Congress 104 years ago that put them in to begin with. How times change. So what have our group been doing? A group affiliated with this show. Well, what we've been doing and what they've been doing is following us around, trying to figure out what we're doing. And what we have been doing is sovereignty. Become a swear word to the cabal. The first filing of that sovereignty is now all in place, completed, approved, and is accepted globally. No ifs, buts, doubts, all done. Which now means our group is officially recognised as an official sub-sovereignty globally. And for those who wish to do the right thing for humanity, we will show you how you can be granted parity. So no one group, country or superpower will have any authority over anybody else. What will that mean to the funding? Well, no funding will come from the trust until sovereignty has been restored to a nation properly. So as soon as each country is declared sovereign, the funds will be released from the trust. Our military people and agency people have been promised that, shown the proof, unlike the Rothschilds and the Asian elders and the dragons, actual proof of said funds and also said assets to more than back it. To date, they've refused. So people want to know why the foundation or why the collateral accounts. There's your answer. Whilst we have clans in the White House and the House and Senate and Congress who think it's more important that the military has a over-bloated budget than spending any money on the people. There's your answer. Now the funds will be released to America once it's declared sovereign. It's already been filed. I suggest they need to rush it through. Government shutdown. Federal Reserve broke. You know what comes next? Now paperwork has been prepared for all 209 countries to step out of the cabal system. To date, 122 have declared an interest to do so and walk a better path. All countries, large or small, will no longer need to be controlled by superpowers or tied into the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, factions, Zionists, bloodline families or Nazis. Paperwork's all there, ready for you to fill it in, file it, and it can all be concluded within a very short time once it's started. It's not going to take many months or years, I'm talking weeks. So the countries that are tired of the rogue elements have now been shown a blueprint of how to get rid of them. Don't have to send rockets or fire nuclear weapons or this missile or that missile. You just file the papers. The blueprint done by the kingdom shows you what happens. It's all there. So the kingdom is now a sub-sovereign of the trust, the trust, the collateral accounts, the heritage funds, whatever you want to call it, and is the first to be declared a totally independent nation from everybody else. The kingdom has its own banking system, its own asset-based trading system, not debt-based, asset-based. It's also got its own credit card system. And the kingdom is now a completely separate entity from everybody else and is a blueprint for other countries to follow suit of the template they have created. They can show you how it came to be its own sovereign. All transfers, monetary transfers, in and out of the kingdom and with other countries now become transparent. It's like a window into the screen. All transactions. So everyone who's sending money, if certain groups are sending money to ISIS, all countries and sovereigns can see it. Who's doing what, when, where and why. Now, for the first time, this banking system can't be stolen from or transfer funds illegally. And like I said, there's 122 countries now showing willing to replicate the system, but will stay themselves as a separate entity. This is not a franchise where they are in control or in any shape or form. They're just a blueprint for the other countries to step out of the shadow of the elites. Each country who works with the kingdom can still have their own banking system, whether it be SWIFT or SIPS. But what happens is where with the other banking systems there's off screens, black screens, dodgy codes that certain elites have, where they access the system and no one else can see. With this banking system, there's an open window 24/7, 365 days a year. All transactions are viewable. So if SIPS, which is what the Russian and Chinese are using, interacts with the kingdom's banking system, it comes up on the screen. Like a translating program, as it's been described, or an intermediary program. And what happens then is the two systems link up, it's declared valid, and the clearance for funding, which sometimes can take days or weeks, be it debit and credit, on this system will be instant. A couple of seconds to validate the funds, and the payer and the payee transfer the money within seconds, no longer waiting for clearances through banks who keep checks totaling millions in their accounts for an extra 2 or 3 days and gain interest and then give you the money back. No interest, mind. This system will be live. No 7-second delays like Wall Street so they can rake the market. No black screens, no dodgy codes, live for all to see. The Paris Climate Treaty. You're going to hear a lot more about this. Is basically not a treaty at all. It's an agreement. Now, deep down in that agreement, there's a small clause and was put there by the United Nations. And basically it says they feel they have the right to take over and run the whole planet as if they own it. They, according to the Paris Treaty, now own, or they think they do, all in-ground assets of every country on the planet. Now, it's my understanding that all 209 countries have been made aware of this situation, and many are taking steps to bail out on the Paris Agreement. It was nothing to do with climate. Zip. To do with the UN taking over the people's assets. Now, under this clause, and this will get to a crux of a rather disturbing incident that's taken place on American soil this week. But just so you know how and why they're here. Under this particular clause, the United Nations also feel they have the right to have sub-bases, aka military, in every country. Now, they are currently on our soil at this time at the behest of treasonous entities supposedly representing America, but are clearly representing globalistic ideals. The Rothschilds are pushing and funding the UN into claiming now all in-ground resources globally, and our team and many others in high circles now have the full proof of coercion and payments made by the Rothschilds to all individuals who signed off on the Paris Treaty. Oops. I'll repeat that again. Our team and many others in high circles now have full proof of coercion and payments made by Rothschilds to all the individuals who signed off on the Paris Treaty. All of them. Now, yesterday was behind the scenes, there was a lot of chatter about the Paris Treaty. Like I said, it's not a treaty, it's an agreement. And the reason why it's not a treaty is the United Nations is not sovereign. Only sovereigns can make or break treaties. So the fact that they're not sovereign means no nation is obligated to anything involving the UN. No comply. So what happened today is the clowns decided they would attack the Commonwealth again, and trying to get something signed off by the British royal family. Now, when this was written, we were guessing that the UN is looking for sovereignty, which will not fly, as we have the powers to veto them, and did so. Now, what has since transpired is the UN are now claiming all the BLM land. The BLM have already made the deal with the trust people so that all the assets goes back to the people. Now the UN are threatening the BLM. Prince Philip has been in the news today, and as usual it's a complete bullshit story. And the reason why Queen Elizabeth called the meeting is because Prince Philip was trying to force the Queen to abdicate and install the big-eared one, Charles, so he would then sign off on sovereignty for the UN. Oops. He can sign whatever he likes. He'd be better off talking to the plants, like he's fond of doing, because he carries no validity whatsoever. Not a single country will listen to what he has to say or whatever he signs. You'll be pleased to know, or maybe not, the SSP, small p, sent documents asking for sovereignty this week. Unbelievable. Where are we next? The FBI Director, James Comey, testified this week and pushed to renew a surveillance law in both his prepared testimony and his answers to questions. Mr. Comey repeatedly mentioned the government's warrantless surveillance programme, its authorising law, Section 702 of the Visa Amendments Act, is set to expire at the end of 2017 unless Congress extends it. And Mr. Comey urged lawmakers to act. Now, he went on to say we cannot lose 702. He thinks it should continue. Now that was the standout from his testimony. The rest of it was a case of he said, she said bullshittery. And that's irony of the highest order, given the implications of what was being alleged. The USA accusing another country of interfering in elections. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up. 61 elections since World War II, Langley have interfered with, according to official documents. Never mind the unofficial ones. And yet someone allegedly does the same thing to America, and these crowns cry foul. The real reason dear me, the real reason for Mr. Comey's testimony is it's the first public gambit in creating the doubt of the current administration, with the goal of installing Hillary Clinton as the new president before the end of this month. Bites tongue, grits teeth. You think all this testimony carries any validity? No, it's got a certain goal. Android and her people thinks they're going to oust Trump by the end of this month, and she will be installed as the new president. Remember Drake talking about civil war? Back to the UN. So I've already explained how and why they're on our soil. they've already explained how the foundation people, the trust people, the kingdom people are making serious changes that has global implications for the cabal. It also has major implications for we the people. By eroding their system, the balance will be restored to the people. Now, our people, as reported 2 weeks ago, were shot at twice on American soil. But that pales into insignificance what took place this week. UN troops and vehicles tried to abduct 3 members of the foundation team on Tuesday. Word got out, and the government, the American government, sent Apache helicopters to intervene with the instructions to blow up all United Nations vehicles. No questions asked. This hit on the team was ordered by Americans, cabal people, but still Americans. And UN soldiers on our soil is a direct attack on our sovereignty. And at the time, certain people with clout recognised who the real enemy is. UN troops trying to abduct Americans on our soil. That is a declaration of war, whether you like it or not. So when people complain that things are not moving along quickly enough, or this should have happened and this should have happened, there's some of your reasons why. Everything has to be done correctly. Commas here, commas there. As they shoot it down. Except they have done things correctly. They don't like it. And there's the response. Are you ever worried about the validity of the foundation people or the kingdom people? There's your answer. UN troops firing on American people. Pentagon agencies, hello, McFly, we're under attack. Now the final piece, the CIA, people in the CIA, that's gone into total and utter bedlam now. No doubt because of events this week, but various other reasons as well. The FBI are pretty much Hitler's bitch. That's why Comey's back up. That's why he wouldn't pursue Hitler. Yes, he pulled it up before the election. It still went ahead. It wasn't the reason she didn't win. And it wasn't Russians either. Now, the FBI are currently stating there is a real concern of civil war between those following the factions and everybody else, including internally between Langley 1, 2 and 3. Some in Langley 2 have now stepped down or gone neutral. It's time for those people to really represent we the people and the country, don't you think? Because civil war in our streets is not something we want to see. Only you can prevent that. You have the wherewithal, the weaponry and the system to change it. Time is now. And perhaps this is more fitting.
What we got here is failure to communicate.
Hi all, and welcome back to the final hour. I am the voice. No, I'm not. I'm just one voice. It's time for us all to shout from the rooftops that we're not prepared to put up with this bullshittery anymore. It's time for people who are paid to look after the American people and people in the government to do the right thing. I can't deny we stand on the precipice of civil war in this country. Clowns allowing UN troops to attack American people because they choose to do the right thing. It's an attack against this whole nation, not just the foundation people. And it's time the House, Senate, Congress, etc., etc., etc. push through the sovereignty bill for America, and we take out the foreign agents, UN, military industrial complex, IRS, Federal Reserve and any other foreign agents stealing our money. And restore this country to what it was meant to be, a beacon for the rest of the world, not a blight on humanity like we are now. So I hope in all the worries in that of government shutdowns, civil war, you also grasp the good news is the Fed are struggling with their debt and their bill is due. And as I understand it, it will now be enforced. I hope you understood what the kingdom had done. Not doing, done. As sovereign to the trust. They have implemented a new banking system that is both fair and transparent. They haven't set themselves up as the controllers of anything. All they've done is show the way for the rest of the countries to follow suit. They've implemented an asset-based system, not a debt. Federal Reserve, debt-based note. Their own credit card system. One hopes it will be a lot less severe on the interest rates than the current cabal banking system. They're also implementing a number of other things that will bring changes to the people. Technology, science, education, legal, environment. 479 different aspects of change. That's what we've got to look forward to when the clowns are removed and people are provided with a platform to do the right thing for and by the people. It can be done. It's been shown. The UN is shown for what it is. A foreign invading army on our soil. Paris Climate Treaty, now shown to be bullshit to all the countries. 122 have decided, I think it's 109 on the Paris Agreement, who are deciding to cancel the said agreement. One hopes in the future that the politicians, no matter which country they're employed in, are given actual time out to read important bills. So no more bogus climate treaties or Patriot Acts can never be implemented against the people ever again. Where they're given the time and forced into reading the whole document and the right to ask what are the implications of this section. Question it. Not just sign off on it and not bother to read it and then go, oh, I didn't realise. Because in the future those people should be held accountable. Currently, this crop of clowns running the country are not accountable to anybody. That's not the way it was supposed to be, is it? People waste money. And pointed a load of wasted grant money. And there's people starving, there's people homeless, foreclosures, etc., etc. And our taxes not being spent on roads. No, according to Trump, he's going to increase it to improve the roads. No. Plenty of money can be saved. There's far too much being wasted. Some questions. Apologies from the person from Macedonia, I think it was, or Croatia. I've run out of time to read your update. It's a fairly lengthy one. I will save that for next week and put that out. But yet again, NATO are playing games in Macedonia and also Croatia and Albania, and I've been sent a fairly detailed description of somebody who's on the ground there of what's taken place. So apologies I didn't have time to read it this week. I'll see if I can get it out next week. Now, where are we going with the questions, which is the first one? Now, given she's pestered all week, I'm going to find that question. Where is it? That's the right one. Oh, maybe it's not there. I can't find it. Anyway, the gist of it was, is Org Tellers the real deal? And can we believe what he says? And I wasn't ignoring the question last week, I just ran out of time. But I've said this before. Does it really matter if I believe he's one way or the other? It's what you believe that counts. There's nothing suggesting to me that Org Tellers is pulling the wool. Could he do it in a better way than he's doing? Well, I would say so, and I've addressed him with that. I think it could be more structured. I think it could be simplified better. But then that's Org's way. Wouldn't pay for us all to be the same. You know, a lot of people like this show because I break things down so people can get at least a grasp of what's being said. Otherwise, the message contained gets lost. I could, just say, "Oh, we've got a new banking system," and people have got no idea what it entails. So that's why I described it in the last hour. But everyone has a different way of delivering information, and perhaps Org would be better, I feel. But again, it's his choice. I'm not impinging on his sovereignty. It's his choice if he spaced some of his posts out and perhaps condensed them a bit more. I think his message needs to be heard, but I don't believe currently it's being heard sufficiently. It's being read, but it's not being understood because it's gone over people's heads, because the description of what he's talking about is not there. So I hope Org can address that, because it then opens up the information for a lot more people. We've all been in a conversation one time or other in our lives where people start talking about quantum physics or this or that, and we haven't got the foggiest idea what they're talking about, and so we make out we're listening, but we're not hearing, and that's the difference. One of the best things for me when I attended the Awake and Aware conference, the only conference I've ever been, and likely to be the last one, given the fun and games and psychic attacks and demonic entities that turn up there, never mind the deceivers who stand on the stage, is Nasser Harriman, a brilliant man. But the essence of him was he was able to simplify complex matters. For those of you who watched Nasser Harriman when he attended some of the world's top scientists, and they were shown the Big Bang Theory and how the universe expanded, and on the diagram was a man blowing up a balloon with dots on the balloon, and that became galaxies and solar systems, and that's how it was described. He stood up and said, "But who's blowing the balloon?" And everyone laughed at first until they realised what he'd just said. That's the effect, but what was the cause? and then people grasped it. We've all seen the effect, or the scientists have, but they still don't know the cause. Who was blowing up the balloon? Who was expanding the universe? What is expanding the universe? And that simplification can be applied in all walks of life, like financials. We had Jim Willie on. The first question I asked him, please explain derivatives, because the majority that listen to the show have no idea what they're talking about, yourself included. So I would like to see Org address it where it can be, his message can be simplified a bit, and perhaps not as lengthy, and perhaps not as frequent, because it becomes overload. But that's his choice. We have been interacting recently, and I've been busy, as you can see, with different things. He's been busy writing multiple essays per day, plus he's been attacked as well. So we've almost arranged a call about 7 or 8 times, and none of them have come off. And hoping that we one day will both have the right time to speak. And subsequently, he's requested a wish to come on the show. So a pretty long-winded answer, but there is your answer you've been waiting for. What is your theory on this whole MK situation? Is that Neil Keenan? I've addressed that. I think you mean North Korea. It's more cabal, rhetoric and fear. Put countries in that region in fear. Make them buy weapons which are sold by American corporations. You all know the names by now. And the cycle repeats. North Korea, whether you like the fat one, the chubby one, Kim Jong, or not, refuses to have a Rothschild's bank. A bit like Iraq, and Iran, and Cuba, and Venezuela. And all those axis of evil countries. Libya was another one. Notice the pattern, they all get invaded. But good luck invading North Korea, because you're going to have to go on the ground and you'll get your asses kicked. You only have to ask the Pentagon, they'll tell you that. That's why they've never invaded. Any news on the restoration of the Republic? Well, I think the news in the second hour kind of covers that in many ways. We're still waiting for certain clowns to step down, and maybe it's now time for certain people to remove said clowns. Enough's enough. Can you explain vril energy? I've never heard that term. I know who the vril are, but I'm not too sure that the energy applies. Sorry, I don't know the answer to that question. Right, let's go to some more. Can you please invite Org Tellers on the show? Yeah. When we eventually get to have some time between us. Where are we next? I'm a bit muddled with the questions this week because there was a load over from last week. Thomas, you say a soul takes a year to leave the body unless it's cremated. What if the body is eaten by a whale, or blown up into 1,000 pieces, or fully decomposes naturally in a matter of weeks? Then the soul leaves. Like I've said, it doesn't matter the situation or scenario. Once the soft tissue and matter and organs break down, brain, and only the skeleton remains, minus the marrow, that's soft as well. Once all that is gone, the soul then is free to leave. Towards the end of last year, you repeatedly mentioned or hinted every week that we were coming up to an important milestone. Finally, at the end of the year, you seemed thrilled to tell us that we'd successfully passed the milestone test. Yes, there was a couple of things that were ongoing. One was the 2016 cheat, trying to make us believe that we're on the timeline of 2012 again, so they can do something different. CERN was supposed to be ramped up again. I noticed that's reared its ugly head again this week. Rest assured, it's bullshit. If it does fire up, it won't be firing for very long. In fact, it might be firing internally. Boom. And the other thing is, we've reached a critical point for humanity to pass its test, to have the opportunity to go on and live freely on this planet. So they were the two things. Recently I had a sudden realisation that we may have actually shifted to a new timeline, kind of like how a train switches to a different track after it pulls out of a station. By any chance did we successfully shift to a new, more positive timeline at the end of December? We've been on a positive timeline since January the 1st, 2013. And people go, oh, well, it's still going on, Thomas. Yeah, but the reality is we should have not been here by that date. Georgia Guidestones and all that. That's what they had to complete their game by that date. They had to have everything in place, and they failed. Now, people argue, why is it taking so long? Because the system is that corrupted and goes into all aspects of our life, like one giant spider's web. Where do you start? Not just the person who asked the question, but this is an opportunity I'm going to throw out to all listeners. If tomorrow you were given the power to change everything on this planet, where would you start? And I guarantee by now, some of you are thinking, I'm not sure. And there's kind of why. We're still stuck where we are. We've made rapid advancements. We've just at times failed to recognise the changes we've made with the alternative community. For all its faults, it's made a massive difference. What was once conspiracy is now known as fact. Look at 9/11. 60% of Americans believe it was an inside job. But those of us who were in the alternative community back then knew then. And we waited, and we waited, and we waited for people to wake up. Then all of a sudden, around 2009, 2010, things really changed. Could it be finally the soul's waking up as they realise this is the last chance saloon and we have to do something before the end of 2012? Possible. Maybe it was something to do with the frequency wave, which was coming in from 2002 onwards. Who knows? But something did change around 2010 and 2010, 2011, where suddenly a bundle of people joined the alternative community groups. Pedophilia. Again, classed as conspiracy. Now it's known as fact in the mainstream media. priests, nuns, doing all kinds of heinous crimes. Again, you go back 10 years, that was a conspiracy, and people thought you were nuts. Now, they're not so sure, are they? So there's been a massive change. The banking fraud has been exposed. The corruption and the lobbyists of politicians has been exposed. The Illuminati has been broken up into factions. The Cullens has been smashed. So have the parents and the Draco have left. But I mentioned one word in the first hour, and it's the key: convenience. Too often we do things because it's convenient. I'll just follow what I've always done because that's the way life is. It's that convenience that's costing us at the moment. Because if we take a little bit of time to analyse certain things, well, I've got, for argument's sake, a Bank of America card. They're cabal. Am I not supporting them? I'll go and get a credit union card and pay off the Bank of America and get rid of them. No more interest off me. Or I've got a Chase bank account. I'll chase cabal. I'll take my money off them and go and put it in a credit union or a community bank. Less chance for the cabal banks to then use your money against you. Small changes. Stepping out of Facebook, whatever. It all helps by saying, I'm not complying with what you're giving me. I'm not having your apps that invade my privacy. I mean, what does a weather channel need with your emails and texts? Have you ever thought of that? Or are the weather channel also part of the cabal? We do too much. AI is for convenience, that's all, because we're too lazy to work things out. Let's get the machine to do it. These stupid Google tabletop things to ask banal questions because we're too lazy to type out on the internet to find the answer. Meanwhile, they're recording everything you're doing. But it's convenient, isn't it? Saves me time typing. No, it creates the very system we're fighting against. So this is the word for this show. Is my convenience more important than ending the control system? Look at all aspects of your life if you can make changes. And I know changing banks can be a little bit time consuming. You have to change checks and all that malarkey. But isn't it better that you've actually done it yourself? Your own form of self-empowerment. You know what? I'm not giving my money to the cabal banks. I'm not voting for clowns to go in office and make all kinds of money at my expense and give nothing back to us. That's how you change the system. It doesn't necessarily need violence. It just needs a bit of thought and a little bit of effort on your part. And all those things that I've just said can all be done by every single listener. Just small parts, but if sufficient numbers do it, it has an accumulative effect that crashes their whole system. And once they realise we're not playing the game anymore, there is no game to play, it's all over. Then they realise we the people have the power, not them. Their power is an illusion we give to them because it's convenient. We'll get them to fix it, the government. But you know they're not there to fix it for you. But it's convenient for the self to just pass it on to somebody else. No more convenience. Put the effort in. Read about the knowledge. Find out for yourself what to do. Shows like this will help you along. Illuminati. You've seen how the depth and length they will go to keep their control system by torturing their own children. Now, you don't need me to tell you that's wrong. But what it does show is their total commitment into controlling us and them being in control. And the only way out of it is for us to show the same commitment. Even if it's only small steps of changing bank accounts or changing credit cards or ditching Facebook. So many different things that can be changed. Don't go to Walmart. All things in your everyday life that becomes habit, but they've become bad habits because they're all working against us. Our vitamins we buy, have they been corrupted? Yes. Whole Foods, etc. are part of the cabal. Oops. Can demons regain their souls again? They never lost them. They're the balance. Angels and demons. They're the balance. Light and dark. You can't have, as we're told, millions of angels and no comparison. Because if the theory is correct and the source or the creator, as posited by Th&I, was naive because he didn't perceive dark, and this whole universe was infected by a virus and it took hold, like the vessel, our own vessel that was explained in the final Appeal to Mankind show number 2. The body doesn't recognise the virus until it's proliferated. Then the body kicks in by overheating, which kills the virus, or starts to anyway. But if Th&I and her group's theory is correct, and this creator only believed there was light and no dark, that was a big mistake, wasn't it? So the demons, or the daemons, D-A-E rather than D-E-M, are there to provide the balance. Not all of them are demonic. Some are helping, and a lot of them are neutral. There's a lot of angels that are not good, remember. Archon angels. So they're out of balance. So the daemons then provide the balance, but not all of them are bad either. A few days ago, while studying the work of Org Tellers, popular name tonight, good, I had an epiphany, good for you, Cheryl, about the full disclosure issue. I suddenly realised what the big debate about full disclosure might really be about. Supposedly, the decision makers are worried that full disclosure will be too shocking for humanity. Whilst that is surely part of the concern, I don't think it's the main concern. I think the decision makers' biggest concern is that full disclosure would teach we the people to suddenly know how to create all kinds of stuff with nothing but our minds. And the decision makers would be scared of the power we the people will soon be wielding once we know how to use our minds properly. Am I right? Mainly. I go back to the AI program the Pentagon ran, and the program that was ran was full disclosure, and the machine came back with 2.3 billion suicides, and yes, that's been confirmed. I've covered many times on this show about the implications of full disclosure, even the small part I've played, and yes, I cover a lot of topics, even the small part I've played in the shows over the last year, and some of the time I spoke up in Cosmic Voice. People have struggled with it, with the Illuminati shows. It's not all fun, disclosure. Many of us have found that out. We've done the hard work, because we've learnt about things that are very uncomfortable for the majority of people. And the biggest thing is, we've been fooled and lied to all our lives. We chose to not continue to be fooled. Not deliberately anyway. Or lied to and stepped out. But the reality is we're still a minority. Do say we're 5% of the population, maybe 10%. It's still a minority, telling 90% of the people that they'll have to have full disclosure and suck it up. It's almost like the cabal telling us you're part of a control system and you're a slave whether you like it or not, because we're the 1%. And people will disagree with that. I've made my position quite clear. I would love full disclosure, but not in one go. You just can't do it in one go. It's too much to learn. Where do you again, like I said before, where do you start? ET disclosure changes everything. A lot of people will go completely nuts. Remember War of the Worlds? Do you think it'll be different now? With 300-foot craft landed or was hovering over all the major cities, people will be shooting at them because they haven't been educated enough. Fear anything that's different. That's the human way. Didn't like the Neanderthals, wipe them out. Didn't like the Pygmies, wipe them out. We've extincted all kinds of animals. Why? Because they're different from us. And yet people want ETs to land. Imagine tomorrow Mr. Putin or Mr. Trump or even Corey Good gets called on to CNN to make the big world announcement, and then turns around and says all the people that go to church are wasting their time because there is none. Your religion is bogus, all of them. Where does that leave those people? Now, some people like myself are not religious, and not with an overview point of view, would go, well, they'll have to suck it up. And I understand that. But from an overview point of view, it's not really the right thing, is it? People have put their whole lives into a belief system to be told it's all false. So this show has largely been a stair step over the last 12 months. We've disclosed some major things on this show, but it's been done in a manner where people have had an opportunity to get a grasp on things, process it, decide themselves whether the information is valid or it's not, and then get a bigger picture of what's going on. But it's been done over 12 months. How are the people, if I condensed the 12 months of shows into 3 weeks and did it 24/7, people would go off their heads. And this is what we have to consider, whether I want it or not. Full disclosure, I think for the majority of the people, we're going to have to accept the drip-fed disclosure, because too many are just not ready for it. You've got people who believe in ETs and also religious. But the reality is, when ET's full existence is announced right across the world, either they're going to continue the bullshit story that religion is valid, or they're going to tell her the full truth. Suddenly those people won't be liking the ET folks, because they will then blame the ETs for fooling them into being part of a religious belief system. The gods, in inverted commas. And again, on full disclosure, where do you start? Personally, I'd like to find people to be told who and what we are, where we came from. The Levashoff material tells you that. But then you can't really start with that, because that then tells you that we came from outside this system, and we were created by a number of different ETs. So you can't start with that avenue. You could start with the control system, but can you? Covens, black magic, dark arts, cults and occults. No, that's just fantasy. It's like Lord of the Rings and all that. No, sadly, it's reality. So, if you were choosing, where would you start? It's not so easy, is what I'm getting across at. But I'll repeat again for the hard of hearing, because many are sometimes mistaken. I would love full disclosure. But personally, I think it's too much. How much weight do you give to the concept of telogamy? Interesting question. In essence, aren't we all that? We've all come from something else. It's in our genes and the DNA. Now, for those of you who don't know, telogamy is a theory. It's kind of been proven in some aspects, but not in all, where the genetics of a previous partner from the mother can be transferred to the child and the father. So the mother may have slept with X amount of people, and the genetics from those X amount of people will go into the child who's born between the mother and father. Like I said, in some aspects it's been proven. It's not widely commonly accepted, but in essence we're the same. Our genetics didn't come from here. There's no proof of us ever evolving here, but we were seeded here. So in essence, there is your proof. Whether it still applies remains to be seen. I don't think we fully understand the genes. Well, I know we don't, because there's a lot more deeper aspect to it. You know, there was 3 races here, just arrived: the white, black and yellow. Red came after. But one of the directives was never to mix. And the reason for it was the genetics. It's nothing to do with racism. It's pure genetics. Now the black group were practicing black magic and realised they could enhance their abilities by mixing with the white group, and they wiped white man out. This is going back 22 to 40,000 years ago. We shouldn't have been mixing. It's very damaging to the white race more than the other races because of the more pure genetics of the white race, the original white race. And people will argue that's being racist. It's not. It's to do with genetics. Nothing to do with the colour of the skin. It plays in because of the genetics. The black race came from a different star system than the white one. But the white race genetics was more pure, and the black race started mixing with the white race to enhance the black magic abilities, the voodoo. That's how far that goes back. So it's all in the genes. Are the demons that control this realm trying to destroy the heart chakra, which is female energy, by turning males into females like the Baphomet? No. I haven't got more time to expand on that. It's going to turn. Do you know what really happened to the missing little girl Madeline McCann? Yes, I know the full story, and I'm not repeating it on this show. It'll get me killed. Have you ever run into us, any of us from our group, while you're out on the astral plane? Yes. Some I didn't realise. I remember one particular where I picked a female up and took her across a bridge, and a week later, I didn't know who it was. A week later, one of the members in our group contacted me and said, I had a dream with you in it last week, Thomas. You took me across a bridge. There's your answer. I've done certain things with certain people that are more recognisable. Sometimes it's more a case of just a number of faces. For some reason, a lot of my memories are to do with meetings and teaching, mainly about peace. It's like an extension of the radio show, really. Getting people to think and act in a different way. It's not just us that has to do that. Don't think for 1 minute that they're any better than us, because they're not. It doesn't matter which dimension you come from. Some of the exotic weaponry, the mind control, comes from the 8th layer dimension. But we're led to believe by the New Age, the higher you go up, the more intelligent, the more this and the more that. It's bullshit. And good and bad in all races, including our own. Good and bad in all dimensions. You know, largely people will get to 4D and everything's going to be fantastic. All the baddies go away, and we're going to live a life of luxury with replicators. And then some other one comes along and tells us, no, we're going to jump 2 dimensions and we're going to the 5th. Some will tell you we're going on craft to the 5th. Really? If you're a 5th dimensional being, you don't need craft to go on. Hope that answers your question. I realise where some of us have been going wrong and believing certain things. We've all done it, myself included, many times. But I don't hold on to it. I'll hold my hand up like I have done on this show and say, I was wrong on that. Better or new information has come forward, as it's far more better for my soul level to admit I got something wrong than to hold on to the lie. And it's a good practice, because then you learn how to not repeat it. If you lead life in love and care, you will prevail. If you lead life in fear and anger, you will fail. Feel free for you to be the person you wish to be, not the person who conforms to what others want them to be. You are a multi-dimensional being operating simultaneously on many levels. You are not here to conform. You are not here to be stifled. You are not here to be enslaved, and you are not here to be abused or to compete with your friends, family or neighbours. You are here to be the best you can be, and do so as the crown of creation, Now go out with the confidence of who and what you are and excel in yourself, and in doing so inspire others. This has been the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show. May the 4th be with you. My name's Thomas Williams. Remember, you're the voice. Bye for now.